I'd say certainly have taken a lot of knocks over the years. I think one of the biggest ones is, especially as your business grows, uh, to delegate. To really get comfortable with letting go. Um, that was something that was sort of forced on me, midway through. I had a son born with some medical challenges, and I really had to let go of some, big parts of what I was doing in my day to day to make time for that.
Mm.
And it's really helped us, grow over the years. But I think that the only thing we don't get more of is time. So as an owner, the more that you can do to take things off your plate, to be delegating to others, is that's just huge. And it just you gotta get comfortable with it. Somebody might not do it the same way you do it, but they might do it better or different,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
might not matter. But I think that's something a lot of owners struggle with, is just the letting go of their way of doing things, and trusting somebody to do it, their own way.
Hi, welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Brian Maddox. With me today, Brendan Chard from the Modern Firm. Welcome, Brendan.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Happy to be here.
So if you could do me a favor and tell our listeners a little bit more about how you got started with the Modern Firm, kind of what you're up to, we can talk about the marketing conversation right after that.
Sure. Yeah, great. So my agency, the Modern Firm, we are a full service digital marketing agency that works exclusively with solo and small law firms all around the nation. So by small, I mean mostly like sub five attorneys. And we got started. So I've been doing this now 22 years, I think. I started it, sort of got started when I was in college. Um, and I was raised by lawyers. So I didn't like really get
They're
very
like raised
far.
by wolves.
So yeah, so there's a parallel there. Yeah. So my dad was a small firm attorney. My mom ran one of the most highly regarded continuing legal ed organizations in the country, and so I was just like really in that world, since birth, and so I didn't really get too far from it when I ventured out, to do my own thing. Um, but yeah, I got started in school, mostly actually originally doing IT work and tech work for small firms and small businesses as well around town. And then that was right when like the internet was becoming a thing. And so my IT clients were like, "Hey, tech guy, can you make a website?" And at first I was like, no, that's not like, not interested in that. This internet seems like a fad, and computers, coax
640K
cable.
RAM. Who
Yeah.
needs more than that?
Yeah. Yeah. CD-ROM libraries. That's where it's at. This internet
Yeah.
thing's not going to last. But, they kept asking, and I was going to business school at the time. And so I'm really just sort of wired for like, oh, there's a problem. Going to try and solve it. And so they kept asking, and eventually I relented and said, "Yeah, I'll figure this out." And so started off sort of partnering, contracting with a student fellow friend in my dorm, and I was like, "Well, how about I sell the websites and you make them, and we'll see how it goes." Um, and so it just sort of started rolling from there. And by the time I graduated, uh, both things combined, the IT business and the web business, were sort of full-time work. So I just went right into it. Um, then it was kind of classic, like 80-20 rule, actually. After a little bit, the revenue split was pretty similar between the two, but the 80% of the problems and headaches and stress were from like the IT side of things. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
sold that business to another company in town. That bought me enough time to really make a run of the website side of things full time, and then it just sort of started, gradually growing from there. Been growing very organically, very in sort of a very measured way, over the years. And now we're a team, got 17 people on the team, and work with hundreds of clients in practically every state.
So, you're working though in some places that are very, very difficult. So to champion the hard to market conversation,
Yeah.
you have both a difficult audience that's marketing resistant. You also are in a commoditized space. So how are you doing this? How are you differentiating, and what does your go-to-market look like beyond referrals? Because I know referrals are going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And for a lot of folks, it's a big part, but beyond the referrals, what are you doing?
Yeah, so you're right. Referrals are a huge part of it, but even bigger than that is inbound off of organic. I think we've been doing this so long. We've put out so much content. We have so many clients in the marketplace. We have been very fortunate to have been riding the rankings in the Google Wave, for a long time. So we get a lot of inbound, traffic from for people really, specifically looking for somebody to help them with their website. And for us, um, so we're full service. We do websites, we do content, we do branding, and then all variety of online marketing, organic, local, paid search, some social, but so it's the whole mix of services to really be like the outsourced marketing department for a small firm. But the differentiator with us is the relationship. We really invest a lot in getting to know our clients on a very deep level. Like I think a lot of our clients would consider us to be friends. We know like each other's names of each other's kids and dogs, and it's like a very
Right.
partner oriented, deep relationship with them. And I think that's the time we spend on that. I think is different versus a lot of other agencies that, I mean, we're in a super competitive space.
Yeah.
A lot of other agencies, again, I'm not going to knock anybody. There's lots of agencies doing great work, but they might have more of a formula that they follow, sort of a more predictable pattern. Whereas with us, it's really getting to know the client and on a very deep level. And I think they sense that right from the first phone calls with us.
So that's there's a couple questions I have from that. The first though is that sounds like a scalability nightmare. How are you able to maintain that high quality relationship with those familial kind of or quasi familial relationships almost across a team of 17 people?
Yeah, it's a challenge. No doubt about it. The first I'd say is the hiring. We sort of have a vibe and a mentality here, and so I think a lot of it right out of the gate, we're trying to hire people that fit the vibe and that really are interested in those sorts of relationships and that sort
Mm.
of deep, thinking and problem solving. And then systems. I love systems and processes and figuring all of that stuff out. It was in school. It was kind of like the sleeper, like favorite class of mine was operations management, and in a way, some aspects of what we're doing is kind of like running a digital factory. There's and if you can get the process down, so we invest a lot in trying to minimize or eliminate all of the mundane, routine, sort of, rote stuff to free up our people to be creative. And so those are two big, aspects to it.
So it's interesting though, right? When you're talking about relationship development and that level of connection, it can't be like, well, insert, variable name here. Welcome
Right.
to, the modern firm. Your name is Billy. Like that's not gonna cut it, right? So
Right.
so how do you put that relationship apart? And I get the hiring, like you want to be sensitive on who you're hiring. But with a process focus and designing that scalability, how are you really nurturing those relationships on an individualized level? And then does that present a meaningful risk for the business if that employee leaves? Do they take their relationship with them?
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. So I would say on the relationship develops over time. And I should be clear too that we're we're not aiming to be the biggest like market crushing agency out there. I think
Right.
we have very reasonable goals, and we're trying to keep a very nice balance with like the quantity of work we're doing, the rate at which we're scaling. So we're not looking, as a company, we're not looking to explosively go, 300% year over year.
Gotcha.
And so part of that in sort of the reasonable goal setting allows us to take the time, to sort of grow at this nice sort of steady rate. But then it also comes into decisions that we've made about how much work we're going to put on each person. So again, sort of reasonable expectations with the amount of work that we take on, and then on the sort of parts of our business where, like on the marketing side, we have account managers that have a one-to-one relationship with, one-to-one's maybe the wrong way to say it. They have a very direct relationship with the client that they're working with. They aren't just the person like, oh, I'm maintaining the relationship and saying hi, and then there's a bunch of other people behind the scenes doing the work. Our account managers are often doing a bulk of the work, and so again, it's setting very reasonable, sort of quantities of clients that they're working with, so that they're, again, for us, there's a value in the relationship, and so we don't overload them. It's
Right.
they have a reasonable amount of clients that they're working with, where they can take the time in their day to have those conversations, segue into things. It's not just all business cranking things out. So it's it's another part of it is just the structure we've set up.
All right, and I've got like a million more questions here, but the one of them is so you, you're working with essentially neophyte lawyers, right? And the smaller firms. That has got to come with some risks, as well as some benefits, right? What can you give me like the positives and negatives on that in a kind of a high level?
Yeah. So let's start with the positives. We are, I guess, the way the business is built is we have a lot of small eggs in the basket. So we love our clients dearly. Every single one of them is important to us. We've been and we as a company have been intentional about the size of the accounts that we're bringing on. So it creates a lot of, it spreads the risk around, so that no single client is accounting for a huge percentage of our revenue. Whenever any of them leave, there's always a postmortem. We want to figure out what went wrong or why. And sometimes it could be whatever reason. But by choosing to be with with smaller accounts, we are spreading that risk around, so that we aren't putting ourselves into a situation where one client leaves and, oh man, now I've got to figure out what to do with 2 or 3 people. So it sort of presents a nice balance. The other benefit, and I think this comes into sort of the reward of the work, is that we're making a direct impact on their lives. Like, we're working with the owner of the firm, not an employee of a larger business, not a subcommittee member of a bigger firm, and the decisions are made elsewhere. We're working directly with the person it's going to impact their business, it's going to impact their life. And so that's really fun and rewarding. And that's something that, again, is a choice in working with solo and small firms that I think for us, it's just more fun and directly rewarding. The risks that come with that is sometimes you're a victim of your own success. Like you launch a marketing plan and they can't handle the business, or they hit their goal more quickly than they anticipated, and so like, well, great work. I've doubled my business and I'm at where I'm at, and that's good. I want to dial things back, or change course. And so maybe we were thinking, oh, this is going to be a good long 1, 2, 3 year engagement, and at 6 or 9 months, they're like, yeah, I'm good here, so let's turn it off. And say other risks, it's just not sure if I don't really think of it, I guess, as that risky. The risk might just be in that it is a slower, more patient growth that comes with working with this account size. In listening to some of your other guests, and also in talking with other agency owners, there's a difference in mentality too, I think, with our clients, in that in particular lawyers, the lawyer is the product. They're the one doing the work. And so I think that a lot of our clients really like doing the work. There's sort of, you'll hear a lot in like the business world of, well, are you building a job for yourself or are you building a business that like really
Right.
runs? Um, and I think that, certainly that exists in the lawyering world where there's firms that want to build up and scale and go big.
Right.
Well, a lot of our clients aren't often that way. They've often left a firm that was that way because they want to have that control and be on their own. And I think they genuinely enjoy doing the work. So
Yeah,
uh,
the business idea is auxiliary to the delivery of the service, and
yeah,
a lot of that operator kind of conflict comes in. A lot
right.
of folks that start that operator conversation, they go, "Oh, well, I became a baker because I wanted to bake stuff, and now I've got a business and I don't want to do the business. I want to bake."
Exactly, exactly. So our role is really to try to make their life and their job easier by taking a big chunk of the business part that they don't want to do or they don't understand and just taking it off their plate. And so that they can do more of the lawyering that they really want to do in that direct, again,
Right.
relationships and helping their clients.
But working with lawyers is got to be in many ways like herding cats, right? I mean, there's a fair amount of like they're getting paid to be right most of the time.
Yeah.
Do they walk in the room and tell you what to do, and you're like, no, you can't do that because that's crazy.
Yeah, sure, yeah, that definitely happens. But it's a really highly educated, analytical, smart group of people,
Yeah.
and they are used to. A lot of them are also used to arguing and getting their way. So yeah, but they're also a lot of them. They know when they're out of their lane, and through educating and giving them more information, they can I think they grow to respect us as experts.
Yeah.
So
Eventually, they figure out that you're in charge on this conversation, and then they go, "Okay, fine."
yeah, well, there's so many parallels because they are a service business and they work with clients who come in and say, well, nope, I don't want you to do it this way or that way, and they have to patiently explain to their clients, well, no, if you show up to court and make this argument, it's not going to go the way you want.
You're gonna get
You know,
stomped. Yeah.
Right. Or they'll come in and it's great. I mean, I love it when our clients give us feedback and pushback because that helps to, maybe push and evolve us and grow our thinking. But also, they'll come in with they'll come with an idea, but once they understand the other things that are being contemplated, for why a decision got made. It might be, handicap accessibility, dictates a way that we have to do a certain thing. It might be that our goals with search optimization or with an advertising campaign are dictating, also influencing the decision. And once they understand the the scope of, what goes into making a decision or doing a certain thing, then they'll come around. But, we always want to also take the time to realize why are they pushing back, what's not sitting right.
So it's interesting too, because I think one of the things you're talking about in that marketing conversation and how you're approaching the market space, because you're focused on small firms, in a lot of ways, it sounds like it's more profitable for you to work with somebody who has um, left the big firm and wants to stay at a certain size. I wonder, like, if you're successful with the neophytes, wouldn't they be rolling out the back door as they scale up?
Yeah.
And so, what percentage of your, I guess, clients are leaving because they got too big?
Yeah.
And how do you screen for that in the beginning?
Yeah. We don't. So there's a little bit of screening in the beginning on that front, but yeah, it certainly happens, and that's one of the things. One of the lessons learned over the years is where are our strengths and where we you know where are we good and where are we not good. And when should we say yes to something? When shouldn't we say yes? Um, and I think that our clientele is oftentimes they've had a few experiences in the past. They have often left a larger firm or an array, sort of. I'll paint a picture for you here. Here's the situation a lot of our clients are in. They're smart. They have had a good job or a good career with a larger law firm, and that setting has provided them with tons of security. They have staff, support staff, technology, office space, utility, all this stuff. They have an entire environment built and provided for them that they don't need to worry about at all. And yet, something about that environment and the way that they're being asked or forced to do their work is so unsettling that they're willing to leave that and take on all the risk of business ownership to do it the way they want to do it. And so they're often, we have a large segment of clients that are starting that way, and so that's sort of, they're nervous, they're just getting into this, they're having a business for the first time, and so that's one thing that's on their mind is really trying to find a good partner and somebody who's going to take care of them or take some of this risk off their plate. And then the other things that are going on are we have clients who have been in business for themselves for a long time, but they are either ready to grow and to do more. They've maybe exhausted the personal relationships, networking, referrals, all of that sort of stuff, and they're really, really ready to lean on the internet to drive more business. Or they have already been doing that, and they're dissatisfied with their current vendor, or they've outgrown their current vendor. So those are sort of the situations that are coming into us. And I think we're really good at taking in all of those situations, cleaning up messes from previous vendors, helping clients who are for the very first time getting into this stuff, and then growing to a certain point. And then it's just sort of a mix of what happens from there. We do have some clients they're going to grow beyond us. They're going to want to get into a larger operations. They enjoy the business side of it. They want to have a firm that has 10, 20 or more attorneys and really sort of scaling up. And at a certain point, that is going to outgrow us. A big chunk of our clients don't want that. They want to live what I would sort of call, they want to live the good life. They want to have a nice balance of work that's really interesting for them. They want to not have to do as much of the boring, mundane business stuff that they're not as interested in. And they want to have time and flexibility to do what they want outside of work. And so it's the good life, sort of all these different things in rewarding work, good income, stability, predictability, and flexibility. And a lot of our clients are really, really happy with that. And again, they're going to keep growing, but they will probably stay with us for quite a long time if that's their goal.
So you're really talking about, and not to dismiss it, but in many ways, you're not talking about working with business owners. You're talking about working with advanced freelancers at that point, where they're like a freelancer plus kind of model. They've got maybe a paralegal to help them out, maybe somebody to help them with some of the smaller stuff. But for the most part, they want to stay in the work. When you market to that versus marketing, let's say, to a larger firm, how does that story change?
I think for us, it's a lot of subtle changes and a lot of little, just I think, nuances to the conversations. We're not really presenting our clients with messaging that says we're going to explode and scale your growth.
Right.
Our messaging is much more like, we're going to meet you where you're at, and we're going to put together a plan that works for your goals. And I think it's a little bit self-selecting, because there are plenty of vendors out there, plenty of agencies out there that do that. We've got a 5 or 6 step formula. We're going to follow this. You're going to do A, B, C, D, and now you'll be 5x or 10x your business. So I think it's a little self-selecting on our clients when they see we're a little more chill, the approach, I guess you could say. We still get a fantastic return,
Yeah, right.
I mean, especially on the marketing side of things. It's, anybody who's worked with the attorneys knows, they're analyzing everything, but when we start doing a marketing plan for them, and then a few months later, they're coming back and asking, this is great, how can I do more? Attorneys aren't usually saying like, take more money,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so they get a, still get a really great return, but I think it is sort of that difference. Yeah, where it just, we tend to attract the folks who are more, they still want to be lawyers. Like that's their
Yeah.
primary functions. They still want to be lawyers in their community.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like it. Okay, so with that in mind, and I want to be sensitive to your time here as well. Who should be reaching out to you? How can they get a hold of you? What should they do next if they want to learn more about how you can help them?
Yeah, so everything we've got is going to be at our website at themodernfirm.com. And you can find me and my email address there as well. And uh, we're on social media a little bit lightly. You'll find me on LinkedIn as well. But yeah, the main for us is right through our website.
Awesome. And having been raised by wolves, and then going through the process that I mean attorneys, and then going through the process that you have gone through, I'm sure you've picked up a lot of lessons working with attorneys, but as well as in the business sort of writ large. What are the three biggest takeaways for you so far in your career?
Yeah, I'd say certainly have taken a lot of knocks over the years. I think one of the biggest ones is, and especially as your business grows, uh, to delegate. To really get comfortable with letting go. Um, that was something that was sort of forced on me, midway through. I had a son born with some medical challenges, and I really had to let go of some, big parts of what I was doing in my day to day to make time for that.
Mm,
And it's really helped us, grow over the years. But I think that the only thing we don't get more of is time. So as an owner, the more that you can do to take things off your plate, to be delegating to others, is that's just huge. And it just, you gotta get comfortable with it. Somebody might not do it the same way you do it, but they might do it better or different,
yeah,
or
yeah.
might not matter. But I think that's something a lot of owners struggle with, is just the letting go of their way of doing things, and trusting somebody to do it, their own way. Um, I think also sort of related to that is just remembering to work on the business. Um, that's a principle that comes up a lot, like in EOS, is taking the time to work on the business. Um, but it's true, you get into, especially as an agency, you're doing all of this, marketing work for other, for your clients. And it's pretty easy to neglect and forget about your own stuff. We're just finishing, a pretty significant rebrand and rebuild of our own website. It's a good 2 or 3 years after it should have happened,
Yeah, yeah.
but so taking the time to do that, because it goes quick and things change quickly. So that, it's important to give yourself as much priority as you give clients.
Mm,
So that's one. And I'd say also just remember to have fun. If it certainly, there's gonna be times when you're grinding and you have to, it's not gonna be fun. But if that lasts too long, then something's wrong. Something needs to be adjusted. And again, I'm a big proponent of, if you're gonna take all the risk to be in business for yourself, it's got to be more than just financially rewarding. Like, you should be having fun with it. So if you're not having fun, see why, and what you can do to adjust and get that fixed.
yeah, great. Brendan, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. I think your insights have been just absolutely amazing. So thanks
Yeah,
again.
my pleasure, Brian. Thanks so much.